Hi, this is Carrie Brownstein.
This is DJ Premier.
This is Darren Aronofsky.
You got the RZA right here.
Rose McGowan.
Radiohead.
Aisha Tyler.
Tribe Called Quest.
Fred Armisen.
Prince Paul.
Javier Munoz. Seth Meyers.
Frankie Cosmos.
Flying Lotus.
Hi, we're Haim, and you're listening to the Talkhouse Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Talkhouse Podcast. I'm executive editor Josh Modell, and this week we've got one of those episodes that feels a little bit like eavesdropping on a conversation between two close friends. And who doesn't love to eavesdrop a little bit? I didn't realize before getting on a Zoom with Alana Haim and Sasha Spielberg just how well the two musicians knew each other. You'll see. Alana is, of course, 1/3 of the band that shares her last name alongside her sisters Danielle and Esty Haim. The trio grew up and blew up over the last decade or so and just released their third album, the excellently titled Women in Music Part 3. Released mid-pandemic, it was met with rapturous reviews for the way it injects new sounds into the band's classic pop structure. Sasha Spielberg, yes, her dad is that incredibly famous film director, is an actress and musician best known for the music she's made with her brother Theo under the name Wardell. But Sasha recently struck out on her own with solo music under the name Buzzy Lee. This week marks the release of the first Buzzy Lee full-length, Spoiled Love, a really vibey, great record produced with Spielberg's good friend Nicholas Jarre. Here's a little snippet of the song Strange Town.
I go where nobody goes, strange town, I guess. And I go there so my love can stay right. Strange town out west, where the sun stays out till 8:45. No other guests, and the bars are made of nickel and dime. That's where he loves me best.
These two, as you'll hear, know each other really well, and they spend a lot of the podcast hilariously chatting about childhood embarrassments and their very apparent love for each other, and of course how those things might influence their songs. I had never heard the term cozy boy before this conversation, nor had I been to dozens of bat mitzvahs, so this was a treat to listen in on. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
I'm so happy to do our dream podcast.
I know, this is really, it's been a long time coming. I feel like we were made to do this.
Alana and I basically lived together for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we lived together for 3 months, and I feel like we recorded each other constantly. I would make Alana do videos. My weird bits, I would make Alana do with me.
I was your boyfriend of Instagram.
You
I
were.
was your hire live-in videographer. But I was also thinking about that this morning. I don't know. Are we starting right now? Is this happening? Have we started?
Yeah, let's get into it. Alana, you look very beautiful. You're glowing.
Oh, I have the face filter on Zoom right now. This is not how I look. Yeah, dude, there's a beauty filter on Zoom. I don't look like this.
Me?
I wish I could take this filter and put it on my face always, but I can't.
If I'm posting on Instagram, I swipe right or left constantly to get Paris filter, but I automatically do it now. So if I'm taking photos of inanimate objects, I put Paris filters on them. That's how sick I am.
It's not sick. It's just the times that we're living in. But I was actually thinking about when we lived together, because Sasha took, to all the listeners who are listening to this, which also who is listening to this is terrifying. I went through a crazy thing where I had to leave my house very much unexpectedly, and I couldn't take anything with me. It was a very traumatic experience, and the person that took me in was Sasha. And I've never lived with anyone before, other than my siblings. I had never had a roommate. And I just remember the first 20 minutes of the morning were us apologizing to each other for no reason. We're both such people pleasers that in the morning I'd be I'm so sorry that I opened the door. I'm sure you were sleeping. I'm so sorry. And you'd be no, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. My laundry machine was going. I'm so sorry. Did you sleep well?
No. I'm sorry. I flushed the toilet and I'm sure it woke you up. After we were both exhausted, we would then start our day. But it started with
It's just a classic case of 100 sorries before breakfast.
Yeah, it was great.
Alana and I say sorry, but actually the best part of living with Alana, with you, was that point in a friendship where you feel like sisters because you run into each other completely coincidentally and you don't hug.
I feel like it's weird when you hug someone that's your family. I don't hug my siblings.
No, I never hug. I don't hug any of my siblings. Actually, my older sister, Jessica, is a hugger. So it's a lot of hugging her. But Theo and I think we've hugged maybe once. Truly.
It's an unspoken thing with your siblings.
I know, and
So
that's
we're
when you and I
siblings.
knew we're sisters. I am the fourth Haim sister. I
You
really am. There will be moments where also Alana and I will take photos of each other or see photos of each other.
We look exactly like it's.
We look-
It's weird. I should be in your family and you should be in mine. It's
Also,
so
we're
crazy.
friends. The greatest part of our friendship is that, I mean, there are many great things, but is that I'm so close with your family. You are so close. I mean, you know my family so well, and you've been over for holidays and Super Bowl Sundays. And everyone from my family loves you, and I hope it's the same.
It is very much the same. No, it's great. We've been friends for a very long time.
So our friendship started, so my brother Theo and I were in a band called Wardell, and we got this amazing slot at South by. And this was when we were first starting out, and it was playing the Outdoor of Stubbs, and it was Vampire Weekend, Haim, and Sky Ferreira, and Small Black. And we were the first of four. And then I think Sky Ferreira didn't make it that night.
Yeah,
But it
I
was-
think I don't remember.
So it was just the three bands or four. And Alana and I had never, you and I had never met, I don't think. And
I don't think so.
you knew Theo, I think. And
I think yeah.
we played Stubbs. It was our biggest show ever. And we got so drunk after my band being like, guys, this is the start of the rest of our lives. We just played Stubbs. And then you guys were already you had been broken. I think 2 years before you were big. And
I think that was our second South by. I just remember I had the biggest crush on this dude that was in a band at South by. And I'll never forget. That was one of the biggest moments of my life. I had a crush on this dude for forever, and he never gave me the time of day. And then first, I think because I was so wasted, I just kind of went for it, and it was great. And then our friendship started. But our friendship wasn't solidified until there was one day, I forget what we were doing in the morning, but we had hung out in the morning.
oh my God.
And then you were going through it with your then boyfriend. I went home, and then I think you had talked to him or something. And then I remember being like, I'm coming back over, and we had a double date that
Yes.
day. It was we hung out in the morning, and then I came back and I had brought
Whispering
Rosé,
Angel. Whispering Angel.
Which is so crazy. Because at that point, I didn't even know what you drank. So I guess this is fine. I'll just get Rosé Whispering Angel.
Every
And
basic
we,
bitch loves Whispering Angel.
I know. It was very basic. And then I came over and we solidified our friendship that day. And
Right?
then the rest is history. That's a very long-winded intro to our friendship, but it's great.
Because our friendship has been through different tiers. Like, I lived kind of far from you for the first 2 years of our friendship. So we didn't really see each other a lot, but we texted. Alana, you and I at one time did a live dramatic reading of our earliest texts. And they're so awkward.
I know it's so awkward. It's weirdly like I'm trying to date you. You can tell that I was so nervous texting you because I really wanted us to be friends.
Me too.
So
I wanted us to
weirdly
so bad. I felt we were so similar. I think we took a couple dance classes together. Ready to
Yeah.
get our groove on? LOL.
Yes. Oh my God, I want to die.
A lot of ha-ha-has, a lot of LOLs, a lot of, oh my God, that's so funny. I mean, it was such a funny text. I think we also said words that I don't think we've ever said in our life. I think I was trying to be almost cool. And I was like, I forget what word. Oh my God, do you remember?
I weirdly feel like I kept on repeating that's awk. AWK for awkward. That's
was
so
British.
awk. I'm being so awk or something which is so weird because I would never say that now. I want to literally bury myself under sand. I'm just
I think I moved
can't.
closer to you. And then we would see each other. I mean, truly, I would see you probably 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Before pre-COVID.
I know. It really,
so
COVID
sad.
really put a wrench in our plans, but
I know.
we're still standing after all these years. We're still.
I know. I'm so happy.
And I cherish you, and I'm so happy that we're doing this because we need to do a podcast together. It's just what it is.
Patreon. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.
Oh God, what would we even call it?
Jews.
Jews. Jews.
Just Jews.
Just Jews.
Just coming to you in 2022. Just Jews.
2020 Jew. I would love to just interview each other about our love for each other. So it's fine. I think
I know.
This is our entire podcast is just a love letter to each other.
I know.
think that's
Everyone
the way
who's
to do it.
listening has now just fast forwarded through our whole intro. I get it, guys. We talk
Okay,
about
you
how much
love
we
each
love.
other. Okay, you don't hug in public. It's cool. But we both, it's funny because, so we also had a similar music situation where you made music with your siblings and I was making music with my brother. So we were, which is rare to find friends who have similar paths with the sibling
Totally.
thing. And then I would always ask you advice. What do you do when you just get so annoyed with your sibling because it's your sibling? Because on tour, when you're touring with, I mean, there was a time where like Theo and I shared a room for a 3-week tour, which we were 24 and 26. And that's just, it's also brother and sister. And it was we really would snap at each other the whole tour. It was uncomfortable for our band, I think, because we'd wake up and if he was hungry, he'd get in a bad mood. If I was tired, I'd be in a bad mood. And there is that language that you have with siblings that's so actually amazing for writing music, I'm sure. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I don't know if I could be in a band with anybody else because even though we're not the Partridge Family, me and my sisters fight all the time. Not around people, obviously, but we do fight. I feel like people think that we live in bunk beds and love each other constantly and that we're just a sitcom, but we're not.
I think I'll go for a walk outside now. The
The summer sun's calling my name.
I hear it now.
In the very beginning of time, we would all three share beds in our rooms, and we would get like double beds. Esty, because she's the oldest, get her own bed, and then me and Danielle would share.
Yeah,
and it was great. I mean, yeah, you can imagine the fights that we had. But then I remember in middle school having a band with my friends, and it made me so aggravated that they couldn't read my mind because Esty and Danielle can.
Completely.
Obviously not really, but everything with me and my sisters was very much, I knew where they were going because we had been playing music since I was 4. So
That's
it was
insane.
Yeah, it is wild. When I tried to be in a fun middle school band with my other friends, I got so frustrated and I was taking it too seriously. I was like, we need to practice. We need to do all these things. And we're just trying to have fun. And that was, no, can't do it. So then, of course, with my sisters, we were always just always on the same page and
Completely
figured it out. I don't know.
No, completely. And in Theo and I, there is this implicit language there between siblings where it is mind reading. And also there's no filter. So if you're writing a song with your siblings and you don't agree with a lyric or a chord progression, you're not afraid to say it. And in fact,
Totally.
It's so to the point. I'm very short with Theo and Theo's very short with me. And we do this. I don't like that. Whereas you and I are both people pleasers. We identify as people pleasers. And
yes.
With anyone else, it's so easy to dance around something and be like, oh my God, I like that. But yeah, I like that. I want to sit with that for a little.
Yeah, totally.
And
I can't do it.
See, and then so I just recorded, which you've obviously know, but I have an album coming out on January 29th. And it's Nicholas Jarre produced it. And he is my best friend from college. I keep saying university. From uni.
Oh, we said it at the same time. We said it at the same time.
It's so oh my God, babes. We'll get into Love Island.
Vibes. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. But Nico and I, because we're so close and he knows me so well, he's able to call me out. If I present him with a lyric that I know is bullshit and the only reason I wrote it was because it sounded good, he will challenge me and be like, okay, let's talk about this. And that's the beauty of working with someone you know so well and why I only ever want to collaborate with friends and family.
Yeah, it's true. We couldn't have done, anything and unless we had Ariel. When we met Ariel on our first record. And now we have Rostam, which is also incredible to have Rostam in the team, on the team, in the crew.
On the team.
But I remember I met Ariel at a bar in Silver Lake. I think I was with Esty. I wasn't even with Danielle. And I met him and we instantly have the same, because he's a Valley kid. He went to Hamilton. We had very similar viewpoints on the Valley and of being humans. And we just instantly clicked. And now I can't even imagine not having Ariel. You know what I mean? It's
completely.
It's you find your puzzle piece. He's the brother that I always wanted, but I don't think he feels the same way about me. I think I'm the sister that he never wanted, but he's the brother that I always wanted. But when you find those people that you can treat as family that are not in your family, they're very cherished.
Oh, so cherished. And just, the the unfiltering, that's my favorite part because I am so filtered constantly with people in my life and I have boundary issues. And so it's fun you're able to have boundaries with people you're closest with and closest to. But I think also you and I got along immediately because we had the shared language of growing up in LA. Yep. And even though you were Valley, I was West Side, we have so many mutual friends.
Yes.
So many. I have this term called cozy boy, which is a very specific type of guy who was raised on the west side of Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. They wear like socks around their parents' house and put on Laker games on Sunday, and they get very cozy. Totally. Their pantries are stocked with sweet cereal, but in plastic containers that are all labeled. It's 100%. A very specific type of guy that roams LA. It's called cozy boy, and it's very specific to LA.
And I've dated so many of them, and it never works out.
And cozy boys never work out, and you think they should because they all love their moms.
Yes.
They all love burying themselves in a couch, chips and guac.
I'm feeling insanely triggered by this explanation.
I know. It's big chill. It's apple pan. It's like it's cozy boy. And Alana, you and I have dated a couple cozy boys.
Oh, I went to public school my whole life, and I wasn't introduced to this form of dude until I was, I think, a sophomore in high school because I went to my first high school party sophomore year of high school because my parents were your parents were very strict. My parents were
both of our
strict.
Parents were so strict.
Yeah, so strict. And funny story, my mom, being a nice Jewish woman forever, was always when you go over to someone's house, you need to bring a baked good or something to say thank you for having them at your house. And I've always had that ingrained in my mind. So at my first house party in high school, I baked a cake to go to a house party. Oh, this is a true story.
Stop it.
I baked a cake because this is how crazy I am. I thought that everyone did that because I had never really gone to parties before.
Oh my God.
Basically, the parties that I went to were bat mitzvahs, and like that, you don't bring something to a bat mitzvah. That's weird. But a house party in high school, yeah, for sure, you bring a baked good. I showed up with a glass Pyrex with a cake that I made to the party, and I showed up, and everyone was like, "Why did you bring?"
But did they eat the cake?
So then, because I'm also crazy, because I was so proud of myself for this boxed cake. It wasn't even like I made it from scratch. I literally made a boxed cake.
Betty Crocker.
Totally. It's Pillsbury or something.
Pillsbury. Oh.
And I was because I was crazy and I also didn't get out very much, was obsessed with people trying this cake. And I will never forget the first cozy boy I ever dated was the way that we met was I was handing out my chocolate cake that I had brought to this high school party. He had come up to me and was like, "Can I try a piece of your cake?" Which now when I'm like thinking back on it, like maybe that was a sexual innuendo. I have no idea. I had just gotten my braces off also. That's a very key point. I had just gotten my braces off.
Were you licking? Remember that?
Yeah. I literally finally felt I was maybe semi-attractive. No dude had ever really talked to me at that point. And so like we like talked and like I gave him a piece of the cake and he really liked it.
Yeah, you did.
And then we dated for 4 months. Also, if he is even listening to this is so embarrassing, but I don't even know how I don't know, whatever. Oh, God. But so we dated for 4 months and I'll never forget, I was in love with him. I mean, I was head over heels in love. That first love that like you have no you have no walls.
No.
Which is the scariest. I mean, first cut is the deepest. He was my first love. And I've still to this day have never loved someone harder than this person because I had no walls. I've never loved someone without
unbridled love. Yes.
Totally. So I fell full head over heels in love with him how old was I? Like 15.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he broke up with me after 4 months. And still I think back on this relationship. This was like a relationship to end all relationships. And it really only lasted 4 months. And
4 months and 15 is like a year and a half.
It's a lifetime.
28. Yeah.
So I remember he broke up with me in his car. And I was so devastated. And I
what
remember
kind of car?
like, I don't remember. I think it was a Honda. or something. I don't even remember. It was like a whatever, nothing too crazy.
Sedan?
Which I feel like a Honda is very cozy boy, weirdly.
Prius is cozy boy, I think.
Prius is cozy boy, for sure.
But then some cozy boys drive Escalades, like 2003 cozy boys.
Totally. He was a very chill cozy boy, but he broke up with me in his car. And I remember I ran into the house and I closed the door and I will vividly remember this. I put my back to the door and was crying and I slowly slid down the door. I slid down the door. An OC episode. I literally think that I saw that in the OC and was, I need to do this. I'm so dramatic. And then it gets even worse, which also this probably is a good segue into another thing that we can talk about I was so distraught about this boy that I was like, I need to write a song. I have so many things to say.
Of course.
I need to write a song. So I sat in my room and I wrote this song and I thought that I was so incredible for writing the song. Now looking back on it, it was probably the worst. Yeah, I was, oh my God, this is my blue. I'm incredible. When now looking back on it, it was the worst song I'd ever written. And me and my sisters had a gig. We were playing this place which I feel like only our group kind of knew about this club, which was called The Unknown.
Of course.
Did you ever go to The Unknown? You went to that. You must have gone to The Unknown.
I never went, but of course I knew of it.
There's this place called The Unknown Theater, and it was a place where, low key, they would give underage people beer. That was the big thing, was you can go and get beer. You would pay $10 and then you could get a free beer, which is also a great deal. And I remember we had a gig and this said guy, my ex-boyfriend at that point, had showed up and we hadn't seen each other. This was maybe a month later. We hadn't seen each other since we broke up. And I was like, I'm going to sing this song.
No.
I'm going to sing this song. Oh, so embarrassing. I'm going to sing the song. And I'm going to look him in the face. And it's going to feel so good. I'm going to feel so good because I'm going to expose him for breaking.
Reality bites. It's full Ethan. What's his name?
Is it Ethan Hawke?
Ethan Hawke. Just looking at
100%. 100%. He was in front.
Yeah.
And I literally saw him. And my sisters also didn't know that I was going to do this. The most impulsive thing I've ever done.
Baby Haim.
And I sang the song to his face and he cried.
Stop it. He cried?
A tear shed.
Oh my God.
I pretty much wanted to be in an episode of the OC. Sorry to bring it back up again, but he ran out of the venue, which felt very OC too.
Did you run after him?
No, I didn't run after him.
Well, then it wasn't OC.
Yeah, it wasn't OC. We didn't get back to we didn't kiss in the rain or anything like that. But
he just got back in his Honda.
I remember while I was doing it, my thought process was, this was a bad idea. Why did I do this? Oh God, I should not have done this. This is bad. And there were so many verses. There were way too many verses. It's never ending.
It's hurting.
It's never ending. Now he's one of my closest friends and we laugh about this and he brings it up constantly. But after that, I was like, oh my God, I can't. It's so, I will never sing a breakup song to the person anymore. I write songs about my exes all the time. Me, Esty, and Danielle always write songs about our relationships and stuff like that. But the singing to the guy, can't do it.
Full eye contact.
Yeah.
Verse number 7, I'm going to get another beer. This
exactly.
is long. This is a soliloquy. I was dating a guy. This is Whispering Angel, Alana. By the way, Alana came over with Whispering Angel. We're both, fuck him. This is a terrible relationship. Fuck him. 3 days later, he and I were back together because I think we were taking a talking break. It was very tumultuous. I was completely addicted to the highs and the lows of the relationship. It was my first toxic relationship. Actually, this week, it's so funny. I actually have so much compassion for him. And I think I easily do this with a lot of my exes. I really vilify them and I make them the enemy and woe is me and I've done nothing wrong. They're the worst. My whole album has so much about who I was trying to be in the relationship and how that wasn't enough for this ex. And I have compassion because I think we were both, I think it obviously takes two all the time. So I'm trying to be very zen in that way because I do have a tendency, but to just make them the worst. But I also think that sometimes my exes act the worst. But anyway, they do fully. So I was in this, they really do. I was in this sort of dance with this guy for 4 years, a bit over 4 years. And I wrote this song that was very much a breakup song about him. Actually, my whole EP was about him. And it was about how I'm in this terrible relationship with someone. And he and I were still together when it came out. He had heard the songs. He had listened to the lyrics, but we never addressed it. And the lyrics are like, you want to take my heart and make a big mess with it. One time in our break, we were on a break, and then he came to, I played a show in Nashville, and that's where he was living. And he came to see the show, and I felt so awkward playing all these songs about him because he was there. And at the end, he was so kind and was like, that was great. And then he said, I love Strange Town, which is a heartbreak song about us. And it just is uncomfortable knowing someone is in the audience. That's my only experience with that. Just someone that the song's about is in the audience. It's weird. When you have to perform these songs, do you feel like you're reliving it, or is it just muscle memory and you're just sort of playing, or do you get into it again? Do you go back in time?
There's one specific song on the new record that me and my sisters just put out that is called Another Try, that I had a specific ex in mind while I was writing that song with my sisters. And I remember when we were writing it, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to sing this because it's really hard to relive this relationship. And so I don't know yet. I haven't performed it yet because we haven't been on tour, but because of COVID. Right. But yeah, it's this record that we just put out specifically. There's a lot of songs that I'm really scared to play live because it's just it's very intense. But I don't know. We'll see. It might also just be, I'm just ready to play. I'm ready to go on tour the second that it's available.
Completely.
Which I'm sure you are too. We're both itching to get on tour.
I'm itching. I was just only dipping my toes in because I had toured with Theo and I toured with a full band. But I then kind of went solo. And I had that Buzzy Lee as my solo project, or my solo. That's what I do now. And I was almost just dipping my toes in because I had never played an instrument on stage. I was always just a singer and had a backing band. And this was my first time. I only started playing keyboard on stage, not because I'm good at it, because I'm not that good at it, but only because
you are good at it.
That's so sweet.
Stop, dude. Be nice to yourself, my dog. Be nice to yourself.
Thank you.
I hate that talk.
I know. Okay, fine. I'm fine at it. I'm okay at it. I can get by. But the only reason I started playing keyboard on stage is because I just didn't want to hire a keyboardist, and I wanted to keep it really minimal. So I hired Ben Fletcher, who's an amazing guitarist, and he was sort of MD, and he was triggering all the samples. He was doing a lot, and that it was so fun just playing with one other person. And so I was just getting really into that way of touring with just one other person. We didn't have a manager. We didn't have a tour manager. We didn't have a sound person. So it was just us two driving a sedan across the states.
So
and
nice.
It was so fun. And I was just dipping it feels like it just was so new to me before COVID. I still felt like I was just learning my tour. I don't know, just getting my, what is it called? What am I trying to say? Dipping my toes. I mean, it just feels so, I was just scratching the surface. And so to have, you guys have been touring since you were how old?
I went on my first tour when I think I had freshly turned 18. I'm also so bad
with time,
at years and time, where everything always meshes together. But I was in high school.
Crazy.
And I think no, I was 18 because did I turn 18 in senior? I think I did turn 18 in my senior year. I'm old for my grade.
December birthday.
But Danielle, my middle sister, which I don't know, Danielle had, for our listeners, my middle sister Danielle had been touring with Julian Casablancas for like a year at that point. And I was a senior in high school and Essie was a senior in college. And he was like, do you want your sisters to open up for the band on this tour that we're doing on his solo project? And we were like, are you fucking kidding me? Because we were talking about this earlier, like, who we wanted to be when we were in like 6th and 7th grade. Like I wanted to be Julian Casablancas. Like I thought he was...
Me too.
What?
Oh my God. No, dude.
What? No. Stop.
I swear on my life. If you find recordings of me when I was 15, I tried to sound like him. And
oh my God.
If you listen to them, I sound nothing like him, but you can hear that I'm obviously, it was like a mix, it was like, who was I obsessed with? God, it was Julian. I loved his voice, but you wanted to be him in terms of like the way you dressed?
I wanted to be him in terms of, he still is a genius. I feel when the Strokes came out, I've talked about this a million times, but when the Strokes came out, it changed my life. It really was. I pretty much before listening to the Strokes had only listened to Blues Clues. I literally was a
Spice
child.
Girl. My second show ever as Buzzy Lee was with Julian Casablancas. It was at Largo, and it was a live podcast for Launch Left, and they do new artist spotlight, and I was the new artist, and then Julian Casablancas played 3 songs, and I played 3 songs. So funny that we have that. I was obsessed with him, so were you, and then we both played our earliest shows ever with him.
I remember getting the call from Danielle being like, Julian wants us to open, and the blood-curdling scream that I let out. It was literally, I think I almost fainted. I was so fucking pumped. And I had 2 weeks left of high school left. Wow. And I don't care, obviously.
It's almost famous.
It is almost famous.
It's almost famous.
It's almost famous. And I went on that tour, and it was us in a van. And I think we did 2 or a week and a half or something. Because I remember I came back and I immediately graduated, and all my teachers were pissed because I had missed finals or whatever. And that was my first tour. I remember there was one night where everybody went out. We were in Nashville, and everyone went out to a bar, like a honky tonk or something. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't allowed in, and I had to stand outside.
No. Stop.
I stood outside for 2 hours.
Your ear pressed to the door.
I was standing outside the door. The bouncer was like, "You're a child. You're not getting into this bar." And I also didn't have a fake ID that was good enough at that point. And so I watched my sisters and everyone in Julian's band and Julian party. And I was just outside, so sad, but also pretending I was a part of the party, laughing.
Oh my God.
When I'm a mile away from everyone, I'm like, "Oh my God, that's so funny. I can't really hear you guys, but whatever."
You're just striking up conversations with people at crosswalks, trying to get not even going to the bar. Party's not here.
And also, this was before smartphones, so it's not like I could go on Instagram.
Or Candy Crush.
Totally. I literally just stood outside and was, okay, so this is my life. But I felt great.
Funny. But you felt great because you were on tour with Julian.
I know, it was Julian. That was really the beginning.
Oh, God, that's so... What? And you were 18.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's very 18. Cool. Yeah, it's very cool. You guys all really just dove into music. You knew what you wanted to do. You just started doing it. My parents were really strict about academics. And I know Esty went to UCLA.
Esty went to UCLA. I think that's oldest. My parents were like, we need this person to succeed.
Right.
So I feel like it's very, by the time I came around, my parents were like, I don't just
do you
don't fail. One of my earliest memories was me bringing home spelling homework and me being like, Mom, I literally can't memorize this. And she was like, don't worry about it. Spelling's not in our blood. Yep. We're bad spellers. We're just bad.
It's 23 and me.
Spelling's not in our blood. We're just really bad. Thinking that it's no, you actually just have to learn and you'll be fine. There's no genetic thing that makes you bad at spelling. And so literally throughout my whole throughout all of my schooling, I was just it's not in my blood. Math, not in my blood. History, not in my blood. I couldn't pay attention. But your parents were super.
My parents were insane. My parents valued education so much. My brother Theo went to Yale. Jessica went to Brown. I ended up going to Brown. It was very we were grounded if we didn't do our homework on time. In high school, I had so much trouble. I went to an all-girls school. And it was very private. Crazy. It was very hard. It was prep school. It was just, but what was so great about my high school is that it wasn't even a cute all-girls school where we were all we had a brother school and we'd meet up with the boys. No boys wanted to hang out with us. No boys wanted to come to our dances. We were the nerds. And the coolest way, truly the most popular girl at my high school was one who owned a TI-89 instead of a TI-83. It was just very and I was getting B-minuses constantly and C pluses from 7th to beginning of 10th grade. And I just felt dumb. So I overcompensated by wanting to be the cool, druggy girl. But I was so afraid of drugs. But I wanted everyone to think that I was high. So I would come to school wearing sunglasses and be like, whoa. I would come to science class with my sunglasses on. And my teacher would be like, oh, do you mind removing those? I'm like, whoa, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize I had them on.
You're Spicoli? You're fully Spicoli?
But I was so afraid of drugs and my parents were so strict. I didn't even drink. I didn't do anything. I was not a rebel, but I so wanted to be a rebel because also 13 had come out and I was wow, they're cool. They're fast. And I wanted to be fast, but I was so scared of breaking the rules. So it just was so anyway, I told my mom, I was really upset that I was getting such bad grades, which were B minuses. Those were, you might as well be a least popular person. No one thought I was cool. And I told her, I was like, I want to be in the musicals and I want to be in painting and I want to be in the arts, or I want a lot of extracurriculars, but I'm getting B minuses and I know you want me to get A's. And then she sent me note and she was like, do the musical and get B minuses. And I said, that's an option? She said, of course, just get be a B minus girl, but do the musicals. And the second I felt that freedom just from my parents, my dad actually, he wasn't part of that conversation. He really wanted me to get A's.
He didn't know.
No, he didn't know. And so, but once my mom sort of implanted that acceptance into my brain, I started doing so much better in school because I did feel a bit of freedom. And so then I started getting good grades and then I really enjoyed school kind of. And I was also doing musicals and plays. And so then I ended up going to Brown, which is where I met Nico and I met all my current best friends, save for you. But I think that I was always so envious of my friends who actually really just knew what they wanted to do and after high school just pursued it. I'm really grateful for my education at Brown and the friends that I met, and I really did come into my own as a musician, I feel like, at school.
When I was in high school, Danielle automatically knew what she wanted. Danielle really knew what she wanted to do. We all went to community college after high school, and Valley College kept it Valley. But Danielle got offered to be in the opening act of a band that was opening up for Jenny Lewis. And that was a really big deal because she was like, I just want to be a musician on the road. She knew. And Essie was in college. I was in high school. And so after Danielle was a touring musician for a really long time. She was, out there, and I was so jealous. I was like, oh my God. She would call me and she'd be in some crazy place and I'd be like, you are living and I want to do that. And while this was all going on, my parents were I remember I was at a very vivid conversation with my parents when I was a senior in high school. And they were like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, oh, I want to be in Haim. And they were like, wow. Okay, well, if you're going to be in Haim, you're getting a job. Nice. You're getting a job.
Great.
And you're going to community college, which I would have wanted to do anyways. My parents were always super supportive of us playing music because their parents weren't. Both my dad and my mom didn't have supportive parents that were, oh, go be a musician. My grandpa, my mom's dad was, you're going to be a teacher. You're not going to be a guitarist. And so my parents were always very much, if you really want to do this, go for it. But they were also like, you need to get a job. So I literally worked on Ventura Boulevard at the Crossroads Trading Company at a thrift store for a year until I quit working there when we finally had gotten a gig. Because we had been playing every venue in LA 40 million times for people since I was a freshman in high school. So at that point, we had been a band for I think 6 years. And so finally, we got a gig to play this showcase. What was it called? CMJ in New York. And that's when I quit my job. And then the rest is pretty much history.
So while you were working at Crossroads, did you have peers who were kind of killing it in music? And you were always, I guess your sister was living the life that you, but were there any other people in your friend group who were killing it and you just wanted to get out of Venn?
The moment that I was like, I really need to get out of here was we've also talked about this. I had a bully. I've had a bully in every school that I ever went to. I was constantly bullied throughout my whole schooling career, if you would say.
Insane.
I had a bully that would bully me since second grade. And she would constantly make me cry. And I was the crying kid in elementary school, which is so embarrassing.
No.
But I would cry all the time.
That is such a thing. That is such a thing, the crying kid.
Yeah, so this group of girls really just picked me out of the crowd and was, we're going to make this girl's life a living hell. And it was very, very awful. And I remember I was working at Crossroads and I was at the cash register and I had to check out my bully. She had come to shop
No.
And I remember there was a long line of people that waiting for me to check them out. And I saw her in the line, and this cold sweat that I was sweating out of every place that you could sweat. Even though I was way older, I couldn't even be like, you ruined my life.
Of course. Have you told her yet?
I was
Have
like,
you ever told
people
her?
pleaser. Dude, it's like people pleaser to like the max. Like, even then I was like, oh, how are you? Like, what's going on? Like, oh, you look great. Like, very much like people pleaser. Like, I don't want to, you know, rock the boat. And then after she left, I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. I can't. The valley, I need to get out of the valley. I need to not be here because I can't do this. It was so bad.
But you and I also share, I mean, thank God we went through this, but I felt not cute when I mean, truly, 7th through 12th grade, I would say. I felt no boys desired me. I just wanted to freak dance with a boy. I have 100%. Diary entries that are like, why don't boys want to freak with me? I know I looked cute tonight. I had a few pimples, but who cares? I was very obsessed with freak dancing with a boy.
Oh, 100%.
And
100.
you and I share that, which is you feel just awkward in your skin. I don't think I'm friends with anyone who never went through an awkward phase. I don't know if I can be friends with people who have it.
I can't.
I envy them still to this day. And then you develop a sense of humor because you have to be the funny one. And
talk about seventh grade is our topic of conversation on a daily basis. We have this theory. Me and Sasha have this theory that the way you are in 7th grade is literally the way you are for the rest of your life. And I very much stand by this because I still feel, even when it comes to guys and dating now, I still feel like I'm in 7th grade and I don't know how. My game is completely off. And I was thinking about it today. There was one bat mitzvah. Also, 7th grade is bar and bat mitzvah season. So that's why, I mean, and in the Valley, and I mean, in LA, I feel like there are like 40 million. What a season. Best partying season of all time. I still have not partied as hard as I did in 7th grade. Every weekend you had a bat mitzvah.
No, every Saturday for a consistent year. It was just, okay.
I was, if this is my life, I'm down. This is great. I had something to do every weekend. And it was Saturday. Like, you go and you listen to 1-2 Step. That was my, oh my God, my song was playing was 1-2 Step because there was a dance move with it. The 1-2 Step dance.
1-2 Step. Oh my God, of course.
So I remember there was like one bat mitzvah where I had the biggest crush on this dude. And I had never kissed anyone yet. Mind you, let me paint you a picture. I had braces. My mom didn't let me shave my legs or my armpits. So
you weren't
wasn't allowed to shave anything. Also really wasn't allowed to cut my hair. I have super long pilgrim hair. Oh my mom didn't let me shave my armpits or my legs. So I looked crazy.
It's very hip.
I mean, yeah, now I'm doing that every day. That ends in one. I don't ever shave my armpits or my leg hair. But in 7th grade, when everyone is shaving their armpits and their leg hair, I looked crazy. And I remember I had the biggest crush on this dude. And at this party, I guess this other girl wanted to make out with him or something, and he didn't want to make out with her, or typical 7th grade bullshit. And I remember he was like, can you pretend to make out with me? I had not kissed a boy yet. All I wanted in this life was to kiss a boy. That was my goal in 7th grade. If I don't kiss a boy, which it didn't happen.
Yeah, same. It happened in 8th grade for me.
It happened summer going into freshman year of high school for me. So I was a very late bloomer when it came to making out. Yeah. And we pretended to make out. Our faces got very close, but we didn't actually. And I had the biggest crush on him.
No.
And I remember coming home that night and just being like, why can't this happen for me? I get so close.
Literally, physically so close.
So fucking close to kissing a dude. And he just wants to pretend, which is also the weirdest thing.
Maybe he actually liked you.
I have no idea. But he was one of the hottest guys in school. And I was like, I mean.
But see, you had that experience of going to school. You went to a co-ed school. I did not go to a co-ed school.
That's so crazy.
It was just, that's why we all had crushes on male teachers who were like, on a scale 1 to 10, they were like 4s and 5s. I mean, now that you think about it, they were probably like 28. But because they were a guy, we made them 10s. All of them were 10s, and we all had crushes on them. And
it was crazy
to see boys were bat mitzvahs, and I had crushes on every. Oh my God, I was obsessed. But I remember one time I had the biggest crush on this guy, Max Gray, who is my best friend now. I was in 7th grade. I had the biggest crush on him. And I would look at, because every year, my brother went to a co-ed school and he'd bring home, I think they made this roster of new faces. Did they
The yearbook?
like a yearbook, but for the beginning
But it was
of
like
the year?
for the beginning. Yeah, no, I didn't have that.
It was
But
so weird. It was like
that's
new
amazing.
faces or whatever. And I saw a picture of Max Gray and I was like, that's it. He looked Princess Diaries, Robert Schwartzman.
Robert Schwartzman?
Yeah,
Oh.
in Princess Diaries. And I was in. And Layla, my best friend, I had never met him. I had the roster in my house. So I had his number. And Layla, my best friend, was like, okay, what we're going to do, he's going to love this. We're going to call him and we're going to blast Baba O'Reilly by The Who because that's cool. So we're going to have that playing in the background. You're going to pick up the phone, pretend you didn't even realize you called him so that he knew you listened to classic rock.
I'm dead.
So we did it. There's no cell phone. So we called him from a landline. Baba O'Reilly. Layla decides to add some flair to it to make it seem like I'm at a party. So she starts in the background going, woo, woo.
Oh my God.
I mean, we're 7th grade, so it's 12, 13.
No, psychotic.
And I call Max. I'm like, hey, oh my God, hey, it's Sasha. He was like, who? And I was like, Sasha, I'm Theo's sister. Because I was known as my older brother's sister,
Right.
always. And he goes, oh, hey, what's up? No, he didn't even say what's up. He goes, oh, hey. And I was like, hey. And I had nothing to talk about with him. So there was just silence, cold silence. And I go, all right, well, I'll talk to you later. Hung up. Layla blasts Bob O'Reilly even more. And I start crying.
Crying.
I shoved her and I was like, why did you make me do that? Why did you make
my
me do that?
God.
And she was, oh God. I mean, but those moments, by the way, Max Gray and I are just truly best friends to this day. So it's wonderful. But
Oh my God. I know,
just that
dude.
feeling.
I mean, the story's gone forever. Like, I remember three-way calling where
Of course.
people would call you but you didn't know that they were on.
Yes.
And my best friend at the time, I had the biggest crush on this guy. I'll even say his name because he's the best and we're friends now. But this kid, Kane, he was the hottest guy. He was a Julian Casablancas. Also, if you're tuning into this now and you just are, I'm like now thinking about all the people like listening to our stories from 7th grade. But I think they're funny,
I'm an open book with the story. Oh, I love talking about
I'm just
7th
worried
grade.
for the people that are like, you guys stop talking about 7th grade, but I can't stop talking about it. But,
No. They're gonna listen.
One of my friends was best friends with him, and he literally looked like Julian Casablancas. Like he
did.
would wear like vintage tees and like skinny blue jeans, and he
Vans,
was, like,
classic slip-ons.
classic slip-ons,
Or Converse.
He wore Converse. You're right. He wore Converse,
Okay.
and he played the drums, and he was the only other musician in my middle school and he's incredible. I mean, even today, he's one of the most incredible drummers I've ever met in my life.
He's great.
And he was so fucking good. And so I'll never forget, my friend called me, and she had well known that I liked Kane, and she called me. Well known. Oh my God, we haven't even talked about Love Island. It's insane.
We haven't talked. We'll save that for the end.
So, our next podcast. So she called me and she was like, "Do you like Kane?" And I was like, "What? Of course I do. Like, of course I like Kane. Like, I love him. I'm obsessed with him." And she was like, "Yeah, but like, would you like want to date him?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, of course I would want to date him." And then I'll never forget, like, a phone picks up and it's like, "Hey, Kane, get off the phone. I need to use the phone," because this is also what in times where we were all using landlines. And his mom had gone on the phone and was like, "Kane, get off the phone." And I remember being like,
No.
"Are you fucking kidding me?" And I had been duped.
No.
And then he like didn't, and then in like pure 7th grade like rules, like you don't talk, like if you know that someone likes you, you don't talk to them for like 17 years. So
That is a rule.
yeah, it's an unspoken rule. If you find out that a girl likes you, you just refuse to talk to
never
her
look
for
at them.
forever. Yeah, you never look at them. You pretend like they don't exist. Like,
Yeah. I mean, but this is going back to like, we are 7th graders forever. Even in college, freshman year, I hooked up with this guy and it was such an embarrassing hookup. It was so awkward. It was weird. And I left the dorm room feeling deeply uncomfortable and just, oh God, that was brutal. I can't believe I probably have to see him all over campus. And for the next 4 years, I saw him everywhere. And when I say we did not make eye contact. We would ignore it was full ignoring each other. And I would be walking his direction. I'd see him coming and I'd be like, oh, I think class is actually this way. I'd move the other. I mean, but one time, our senior year, because it was Providence, Rhode Island, it got very icy. And everyone would just take massive spills. And that was one of the greatest things about going to school on the East Coast. But people would be leaving their classes and take massive spills. And I saw him at a distance. I was like, oh, got to turn around, like doing my 180. But then I saw him just take one of the craziest falls down 20 steps, bum, 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 bum. And I felt I was, oh God, thank God. But then our commencement, we had this thing called Campus Dance, which was the last night before graduation. And he came up to me and we had a really lovely conversation. And it felt right. It just felt like,
that's all you could ask for.
But it's awkward.
Still to this day, we haven't figured it out. So
no.
I don't know. If you're listening to this podcast and you want to date two Jewish neurotic bitches,
we know how to. Zyrtec.
I'm available. Yeah, if you are fine with always constantly being anxious and just not knowing what to say,
but also people pleasing. Actually,
people pleasing.
You and I are great in relationships because we're super aware of the other person. We're
oh yeah,
incredibly. I was a people pleaser for the worst in my past relationships in terms of just giving into the toxicity and being like, I'll excuse your behavior because I love you.
Do you turn into what you think the person likes in a relationship?
Oh, I am a chameleon, but now
100%.
Chameleon, but now not really. Now I'm just over the song and dance. I'm going to just be fully me and transparent, which is, I think, a beautiful thing about getting older. It is. And, but no, in past, I am a chameleon. My ex he drove an old pickup truck and had woven blankets in the back. And so my style was very mixed media with woven blankets and courage and
totally
and Western boots. And I became the person he wanted me to become. And then my ex before that was kind of Hollywoody. And so I wore a lot of makeup and I went to the chateau with him and wore tights and stiletto. I don't even know. It was weird. And
the worst, for me, I feel like 50% of my boyfriends have always been British dudes. And I think the worst thing that comes out of that is I start saying British slang. I'm just going to wait in the queue. Everyone's like, who are you? Stop.
But you guys, to be fair, you guys got your first place that you really blew up was England, right?
100%. Yeah.
It was the UK.
I'm obsessed with the UK. I've always been obsessed with the UK.
Yeah.
But when we are the only label that ever wanted to sign us was a label in the UK. #Polydor. We love Polydor.
We love Polydor.
But we got signed to the UK first. So I was there I thought I was going to be in the UK for 2 weeks, and we ended up staying for almost 2 years.
It's so cool. So cool.
And it was the best. It was the best time of my life. I was young and you could drink there legally because it's not 21. And I was super young and was dating a bunch of British dudes. It was a great,
but you start saying,
time.
You start adapting. But I think even when you and I hang out, we start talking almost similar. We do start blending into the other. It's just, if you're an empathetic person, you can sometimes take on other people's personalities.
100%. Yeah.
But it's people pleaser, chameleon.
I hope one day I can figure this whole thing out. I feel like this whole podcast has just been about our dating throughout the years, which I'm so in for because
it also informs music. All of this is background to what you and I write songs about. So it's all very important, I think. I think it is
very important.
And I have my diary entries from when I was 8. I kept a diary from 8 to, I still keep a diary, but I have one diary that's 8 to 14. And it goes from Leonardo DiCaprio to my first hand job. And it is so real. And
that is the name of your memoir, by the way.
From Leo to H. Chase.
To H. Chase.
But I always go back and look at my diary entries just because I find that even writing lyrics, I will try to write these very florid, kind of wild lyrics that seem really intellectual, and then I will erase them and just write the exact sentiment, which is exactly what I do in my diary. And I think that I try to have it inform my songwriting to this day. Just being direct with lyrics rather than being like, I want to be smart and have these sort of florid, mysterious lyrics. And then I just write another lyric that's way more direct. And I find that one does the trick much better.
I'm so jealous that you have
Diaries.
You have diaries from when you were, I mean, every time I've tried to write in diaries, I do it sometimes when like something very insane happens. Like I write down like my thoughts.
Well, now people call it journal. People call it
right,
journaling.
Yeah, I don't, and I've never been able to like keep it consistent. Like it's always just like very jumps around my life. But what I would give to read how I was when I was young. My thought. I've found like live journals for all you young listeners out there that don't remember live journal. But
wait,
live journal
I want
was
to see yours, and you can see mine.
Oh my god, I'll show you. I'll send it to you. But I was so dark.
For sure.
Like hormones, when hormones hit, I was like the darkest. I remember like there was just like one entry that was like, I hate everything. I hate everything. I hate everything. Like a bunch of like, I hate everything. And then of course there's like one comment from like my one friend that followed my live journal that was like, are you okay? I was like so dark, and I like don't remember being that dark, but I mean, everything felt catastrophic when I was like in
it's
middle
sliding
school.
down
like,
the door. It's sliding.
Yeah, exactly.
It's sliding down the door.
And honestly, at this point, I would slide down a door again because I haven't really changed that much.
I think we could benefit from a door slide for sure. I think that would be cathartic in a way.
It would be crying. That's going to be the name of my memoir. Crying and sliding down a door.
Crying and sliding?
crying and sliding. Crying and sliding. The Alana Haim story.
Alana Haiming.
It rolls off the tongue. But
it's
no,
beautiful.
It is true. I mean, it's so crazy. It is crazy that I feel this. I mean, I just turned 29, and it's just like, I can't believe that I like still feel like I have the same impulses and instincts that I did when I was 15.
But that's why I think your diary entries would be exactly as you'd expect them to be. You'd be so surprised. Mine, I speak the same way that I did in 7th grade. It really is troubling, actually. Have I not evolved at all? I'm still just boy crazy. And and just so fearful of the future and doubting myself constantly.
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
I sang for the talent show. I wasn't that great, but maybe I was good because I did get 3rd place. But I don't know. It's very just imposter syndrome since I was 7th grade.
I know. And I'm also like, I'm so thankful that I didn't have like a smartphone throughout my whole 7th grade. Like I remember trying to get a photo off your digital camera, and it took like 50 hours. Like that was like I think I had like a digital camera that was like super cheap, like from Costco, but it was like a huge mechanism with like the tiniest screen. Like the screen was like so tiny. And I remember I would take photos, but then they would just stay on the camera because like getting it from the camera to your computer took like software and shit. I couldn't figure it out.
No, I know.
And so like, because I remember Instagram came out when I was
2011.
When I was out of high school at that point, so I didn't have it. And I'm like, and now because also I feel like if we had Instagram, like we would have known how to do our makeup and like how to dress. Like I literally like there are some photos. I mean, going down the rabbit hole of like what I thought was like cute in those times. I mean, I'm very thankful. Again, it made me
grateful.
It forced me to be the funny girl, which I love being the funny girl.
Yes.
Funny girl is my vibe. I love being the funny girl, but it's just wild.
Best.
It's so crazy.
I'm really grateful too. At the time I was not so grateful, and I prayed for a different face. I literally was like, please make me wake up and look, because my older sister, she's my half sister technically. I think of her as my whole sister, but because she's my half on my mom's side, she doesn't have any of my dad's genes. So she looks like Grace Kelly, and she's got this classic Hollywood, beautiful blonde bombshell, like stunning. And she's an actress. And she is 14 years older. And so I grew up with her being so hot and 26 and so hot and dating the hottest actors and the coolest people. And I was just looking in the mirror at my freckles, at my pale skin, at my big nose, at my I don't even know. I just felt so not beautiful. And it was I'm so grateful that I felt that way, because
I know.
I really am. Because
I know.
And I think everyone, even just the people you look at who just are so undeniably beautiful and make money off of their face, they too everyone has insecurities. And that was actually something growing up, actually learning that. I mean, it's such a simple thing. Everyone has insecurities. Obviously, everybody has insecurities, but it is comforting to know that, because you're just like, oh, I'm not
alone.
No, we're not alone. And then meeting you to bring it back to us and our friendship, it was very sisters immediately. Even though we were both trying to impress the other with like, that's all. Also, to Alana and I, when we were living together, we were obsessed with Love Island UK.
Yes.
British Love Island.
Love Island UK.
We were obsessed.
Yes.
We started
insanely
speaking
obsessed.
Like the cast.
100%.
And to this day, it's very babes.
Early days.
Oh my God.
It's everything I want on paper, but there's no spark. There's everything I want on paper. There's no spark.
Oh,
Are you grafting? Are you grafting?
She's my bird. Alana got really good at the accents. You really did. You got so... And I
was
feel like...
obsessed with it. To the point where, when I was moving, I eventually moved out of Sasha's place because, I mean, I feel like I would stay there any,
you
other
are
times.
welcome.
But I, at that point, I was dating someone, so like I needed to get out of place. And I'm not dating that person anymore. I'm very single for anyone that's listening.
Very single guys.
But as I'm leaving as a gift, because I'm, again, bringing it back to, you always have to bring a gift. You always have to say thank you with a gift. I bought Sasha a custom Love Island water bottle. The water bottles that they have on, and I ordered it with Sasha's name on it. And I got one too.
She got one too. And for Halloween of last year, we were going to be
this year we'll see if we're going to be Love Island characters. I know,
but I feel Love Island's a bit dated now.
I know it's a bit dated.
I haven't watched it.
Well, there isn't a new season. I've watched. I'm all caught up. I need a new season to happen. COVID, come on. Like,
we love reality.
Love Island.
Also, if everyone should know, I am on the Haim family Hulu account. Every time I sign in, it's like, who would you like to sign in as? And I'm Sasha Haim.
It's true. And you can use, that's like a sense of like true friendship when like you literally have the passwords to like everything. Like you could literally have my Hulu, Netflix,
you have
Amazon.
My passwords.
Yeah.
You have it's very, very.
Everything.
Yeah, everything.
What's mine is yours. What's mine is yours.
Really? Oh my God, this was so fun.
Thanks for listening to the Talkhouse Podcast, and thanks, of course, to Sasha Spielberg and Alana Haim for chatting. Hopefully, we'll be hearing more from them as their podcast takes shape. As always, check out Talkhouse on all your favorite social channels, and don't forget to subscribe. This week's episode was produced by Kevin O'Connell, and the Talkhouse theme, as always, is performed and composed by The Range. See you next week.